Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome to the Hildebrand Law Firm topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand.
And I'm Matt Kaplan.
And today we're going to talk about part 3 of, okay, you've fallen and you can't get up. Kind of like this, right? That's what happened to me. I fell and I couldn't get up. And so I ended up crawling all the way to the door and yelling for my husband. So anyway, point is, along life's journey that has some unexpected twists to it, there are moments where we get a reminder that, I might not be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's important for me to put things in place so that then when something serious really does happen, a little bit more than a broken arm, I'm ready for it. And we've talked about making sure we have powers of attorney for healthcare and finances in place. We've talked about wills versus trust. But now today we really want to focus in on something that is very important when you consider the fact that I believe the latest statistic is up to 70% of us will end up in nursing home care before we pass away. So it's somewhere between 50 and 70%.
Wow.
For those of us who are, say, age 50 and older.
And what's really interesting is that whenever I ask people, and I ask every client I have, what is your plan for if you were to need long-term care? What sort of response do you usually get, Kirsten?
Oh, I don't need long-term care.
Mm-hmm.
Just take me back behind the barn and shoot me.
Just shoot me.
That's right. Or put me on an iceberg and float me out to Alaska. Or just let me wander into the woods and get eaten by wolves.
Yep. These are all very reasonable things.
These are all great ideas for.
They say my plan is to have someone murder me, or I don't have a plan.
Right.
And I always say to them, how do you feel not having a plan that has a 70% chance of something happening to you?
Especially when you've got social workers, nurses, and doctors buzzing about with the authority to say, you can't go home.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to a nursing home. You have to go to a rehab facility. We will not let you go home. It is not safe.
Right.
And so that opens up a whole new world that maybe 30, maybe even 20 years ago didn't exist, because you didn't have all of those people buzzing about saying, oh, you can't go home.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being at a place that you don't want to be at? And even if you have some sort of memory loss issue, you are confused, you don't want to be there, and then the first thing they tell you is you can't leave.
Right. Yeah, that would be, and not having a plan in place.
Right.
Because if we say, okay, I'm not signing up to go on that cruise ship, but if I do have to go into nursing home, this is the one that I would want.
Right.
This is the money that I have set aside in order to handle it. And then here's the assets that I have protected so that I can qualify for my Medicaid benefits. That's the key to the game, isn't it?
That's the key. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is protecting your assets. Because if that day comes, and if the number is 70%, Kirsten, for us, it might as well be 100.
Right.
In my mind, it might as well be 100%. If there was a 70% chance of rain, are you grabbing your umbrella?
Absolutely. If there's a 50% chance of rain, I'm grabbing my umbrella.
Absolutely. And so how come if there's a 70% chance of going through the most expensive thing you will ever go through in your life,
right,
most of our clients don't have a plan in place? And it's not their fault. They just don't know.
Right.
They, unless they've had a loved one that's dealt with it, they just don't know the financial and the emotional ramifications.
And so what are those financial ramifications? Well, it's approximately $10,000 to $15,000 per month for that in facility care, whatever facility that might be. And you want to see money just go down, down, down super fast. That would be a great way to have it happen.
Very much so. And to the tune of, that's why, we get clients that say, well, mom went to a nursing home and it wasn't that bad.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't $10,000 a month in the 70s.
Exactly.
Exactly. In the 70s or even early 80s, mom may have been able to afford it with her Social Security and pension.
Right.
But what is few and far in between, pensions, and what's way more expensive now, care.
Right.
And so the idea is that, and kind of, I really liked your cruise example earlier. I think you plugged into something that maybe you didn't realize, is that when you go on, for example, a year-long cruise, you know exactly how much it's going to cost.
Yes.
If you go into long-term care, if your stuff is not planned, you have no idea how much it's going to cost. You don't know when you're getting off that ship. You don't know when that ship's ever going to end. And so what my philosophy is, let us plan for different scenarios. Let us make it so that once that journey ends, we are not broke on the other end of things.
Right. Doing good planning means that you create a stopping point.
Yes.
For how much of your resources you are dedicating towards that long-term care. And a lot of people feel differently about this, and I respect it completely, but at least it's important to understand that there is a way that you can protect your assets through a Medicaid qualified trust. And that will then allow for you to still have assets for your beneficiaries, and contribute towards your care as is necessary, and then have the government step in and help with some of the expenses associated with that.
Well, I think what a lot of people don't want to see Medicaid as is that Medicaid is just a government-run health insurance program.
Yes.
Really, at its core, it's saying, we're going to make you pay into it premiums. Mm-hmm. You're going to pay these premiums each month. And then if the day comes where you need to utilize our services, you need to show us the need. Once you show us the need and once you qualify, now we will pick up that tab.
How are we paying these premiums?
We're paying the premiums from our paycheck. If you look at your paycheck, there's line items. A little bit comes out for Social Security. A little bit comes out for Medicare, Medicaid services, also known as CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and things like that. And so a little bit comes out of your paycheck each time you get paid, and that is your insurance premium, and it's based off of your income, and you pay into that your entire life. And a lot of us don't ever utilize it.
Correct.
You know, a lot of us pay into it tens of thousands, depending on how long you've been working, how much money you've made over the course of your career, maybe even hundreds of thousands you're paying into the program, and you never use it. And so, kind of like what Kirsten was saying, our philosophy is, this is a program that you've prepaid for, that it's your benefit and it's there for you. And in order to utilize it, you got to jump through a few hoops, but the hoops are there for a reason, aren't they, Kirsten?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of reminds me of unemployment compensation. We all pay unemployment compensation, do we not? And sometimes we use it and sometimes we don't use it. I think probably more often than not, people are using unemployment compensation for a period in their entire career when they need to have some income coming in until they start making money again. And so similarly with payment into the Medicaid program, literally every single paycheck since the time you started receiving a paycheck, you might want to ask yourself, like, do I want to then avail myself of the benefit of my contribution to the larger pool? So you put the pool in when you're 15, 18, then 28, all the way through to age 68, let's say, and then you need Medicaid benefits when you're 98. Well, all of that money has been growing and growing, and now it's your turn to be able to receive the benefit of it.
And one thing that's really interesting, I looked at this the other day, the trust statute in Wisconsin, it says the word irrevocable maybe under 10 times. The Medicaid handbook in Wisconsin, which is well over 700 pages, says the word irrevocable over 100 times. And what that says to me is that not only does Medicaid allow this, it sounds like they encourage something like this.
Yes, they've set up an area where it's like, okay, if you are smart enough to go to a lawyer who understands this area of the law, informally considered to be elder law, and you implement these things, they're not going to give you any pushback. They intentionally created this environment where there's a 5-year look back period, and if you implement this program and put your assets into the irrevocable trust, and then you get past that 5-year look back period, they're happy to make sure that you get paid out of the program.
And that's a really interesting point you bring up about the 5-year look back period, because the theme of this video series is I've been diagnosed with something. Now what? Yeah. And what's really neat about that is that we're seeing more and more anecdotally, and I think the data backs it up too. People have been diagnosed with very serious conditions younger and younger.
Yes.
Nowadays, yes. We've seen people diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's in their 40s and 50s. We've seen people diagnosed with Parkinson's at an early age. And so some people say to us, well, I don't know if I have 5 years. First off, you never know.
You never do know.
You never know if you have 5 years. Second off, for the vast majority of folks that we know, you don't need 5 years to protect yourself.
That's true. That's true enough, because you're going to want to have a couple years of private pay,
right,
that will allow for you to get into a good facility.
Exactly. And then for folks who have maybe been diagnosed with a degenerative condition or like one of those slow moving conditions, I think there is no better time than now to do some Medicaid planning, because thinking to yourself, well, I may go to a nursing home, but my brain and my mind may totally outlast my body. Yeah. I may end up being in a nursing home for 20, 30 years, which we hear about with folks with these types of conditions. And if that's the case, if you're in a nursing home for 20, 30 years, I don't care how rich you are, you're dying penniless. You're going on Medicaid eventually.
Yes.
And so what our thoughts are is that instead of waiting 15 years, spending everything you have, then going on Medicaid, the most you should ever wait is 5. And for the vast majority of folks, you can get it done a heck of a lot sooner than that. So if something like that, in our opinion, is inevitable, why not just move that clock up a little bit, save more of your stuff?
I think this is fascinating, and we would definitely welcome talking with you about it more. Every situation is so unique. And so we really would love to have you come and let us do an analysis and see what kind of plan works best for you. Before you have the diagnosis.
Yes.
Before you have the accident.
Yes.
It's such a great idea to just come on in and get all of this understood and planned out while everybody is healthy and happy. But if you have had the diagnosis or you have had the fall, then that's a really good alarm bell too. That's a really good way to say, you know what, it's time for me to come in and deal with this.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you here at Hildebrand Law Firm.